one of my biggest fears is that I end up in life thinking that I'm going to get somewhere or have something that I never have and I never get. Living a lie. Or thinking that I have something that I really don't have. And the only way for me to make sure that I actually have what I hope to have is to be honest about what I actually have and who I actually am.
Yeah.
And what I'm actually going through. And so, like, that just sparked a crazy conversation. And, man, as you think about, now back to what you were just saying, like what you love about that, as you think about maybe even a fear that you have, even just back to your childhood, that fear that you're like, oh, that was the moment where I was going to let fear fuel me. Because in some ways, that's what you're saying. You let that fear in that whole moment scenario fuel you to your future, which you have a great, like, I don't think you hate your life, but like.
You know, it has fueled me into a lot of things that on paper look really, really great. You know, I've started multiple companies. Yeah. I've exited. I've made money. I've not. I've lived all over the world. I've flown in private planes and, you know, all of it. But I don't think I didn't really truly know myself until much more recently. And honestly, it's taken some hard lumps, really getting beat up over the last couple of years to begin to want to go there. And it's through that fire that I've been reborn and found who I really am, and, you know, just how big it can be, how exciting it can be to explore the edges of that.
So with that, do you care to just kind of color it in so that everyone kind of knows, okay, like, you know, you founded this supplement company called Ned with a partner of yours, and then like maybe like give us a scope of like where did you live in the world? You know, maybe like what was the come up, so to speak, and kind of where we are today. Do you mind to kind of just like give us a little bit of color commentary?
You know, grew up with no money. My mom it was kind of ironic. My mom was a student at Harvard. We're living in Cambridge, Massachusetts. She's got 3 kids to raise on her own. And she's getting her master's, then her doctorate at Harvard. So, you know, kind of, you know, very economically very poor, but like socially extremely rich. I went to one of the most diverse high schools there is, 126 different countries, you know, sons and daughters of Harvard professors and biotech CEOs to brand new Haitian immigrants who just got there the day before. And
they did like a show about it, right? Like they did like a parody type of thing.
Yeah, they compared that high school to a very rich white high school in Dallas, and showed the prom. But you know, it gave me an amazing background to be able to relate to and relate with all types of people. So, you know, without that money, I thought that money was the answer. And so, like so many of us, we go out and we just try to make money. And my first job was in Saudi Arabia. It was 2 months after 9/11. I graduated in December, and I'm on my way to Saudi Arabia. I get there. My business card says environmental expert. I had taken one environmental policy class. I really liked the outdoors. I recycled, so I was qualified. And but it was an amazing opportunity. And I'm 22 years old, and I'm running a $350 million project, meeting with princes and CEOs, and had an amazing time. And I was way too young and naive to know that I was in way over my head. And I went with it, and it gave me a ton of confidence. We ended up, the money for that project ended up going back to Iraq. I ended up chasing some Iraq contracts, the hospitals and the schools. You know, super interesting. I'm there in a room at one point. I'm 23 years old with the CEO of Bechtel, the CEO of Halliburton, you know, multi-billion dollar companies, and me. Everybody thought I was like somebody's assistant.
No, you're the savant in the room.
Yeah, no, they thought I was like getting coffee. But, that was a really interesting time, and ended up afterward in Miami. I went from Saudi to South Beach, like the most repressive society at the time, to the most hedonistic. And then ended up in Brazil on a whim. A girl I was dating asked me to move there with her. And, I had quite a bit of confidence based on these experiences. And 2 weeks later, I'm in Sao Paulo. And a day later, I'm co-founding the Brazilian Green Building Council, which we went on to create over the course of about a year. And today, I think there's over 1,000 LEED certified buildings in Brazil. Spent all my money doing that, and surfing and kiteboarding and drinking caipirinhas and gallivanting all over Brazil, which in my mind is one of the most beautiful, unique, and interesting countries in the world. Had no money, and got a call from a friend's father. He said, "Hey, would you come be our sales representative in New York City and sell hotel mirrors?" It's like, what? Absolutely not. And they said, "Listen, if you don't make $500,000 to $700,000 in the first year and $1 million going forward, like, you'd be doing something wrong." So I said, "Yeah, okay, that's interesting." And I thought, I'll do this for 2-3 years, save a bit of money, and then go do what I'm passionate about. And it was really the first time when I made a decision based on that money. And so I find myself in New York City, which I'm a nature guy. I'm a mountain guy, but I ended up loving it. It was good for me at that time in my life. But I started this business for which I had zero passion. I had absolutely no interest in hotel furniture, fixtures, or equipment. It was a complete widget to me. It was all about making some money so that I could go do what I wanted to do. 2 years turned into 5, turned into 12, turned into 13
So you're only there
years.
for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah, I wish. Well, I don't wish, because it's been formative.
There it is, yeah.
And I ended up taking the business to Saudi Arabia again. I had a great opportunity to go work with my former boss there. I ended up working on all types of projects, building the family office for the king's son. I ended up becoming the biggest supplier of military tents in the Middle East. That was a wild story. Picture one of those arms bazaars I'm there with my tents. We're on a tarmac in the middle of the desert. There's, sheiks and generals walking around, and next to me there's a Chinese bazooka company, and on the other side there's a Czech armored vehicle company, and then me with my American-made tents. But it was an adventure, and again, always I just had this confidence that it would go and go and go, and I had this grip on things. You just keep going, work harder. It'll happen. Meantime, though, I had just gotten married and become a father, and my wife and daughter, I realized this wasn't going to work for them. And so had to make the choice between, millions and millions of dollars and my family. And it was pretty easy. So we moved to Boulder, Colorado. I got back to nature. I got back to the mountains, simplicity. And it was one of the best things I ever did for myself. That return to nature was really important for me. And a summer later, my wife and daughter were in the Netherlands, where my wife's from, for 2 months. And I ended up spending the entire summer, about 50 days, entirely outdoors. It was an experiment to see how much I could thrive when I really got back to nature. And I sold my BMW. I got my 4Runner, threw my tent and sleeping bag, fly rod and bike in the back, and lived outside, lived and worked outside for 50 days. Within 2 days, I'm thriving. Within a week, I've never felt better. And, I would wake up with the sun. I would exercise, do something natural. I'd jump in any body of water I was near. That was my shower. And then I'd go work outdoors. I'd eat healthy all day, and I'd go to bed when the sun set. At the end of the day, I'd have a big adventure. I'd climb something or raft something or ride something. And I felt great, and I was healing. I really needed to heal after Saudi, after being separated from my family. There was a lot there that I endured. And not only did I heal, I began to thrive. And toward the end of it, I said, I want to share this with people. I really, truly believe that a lot of the ailments in our society are due to our disconnect from nature. We evolved in nature, as nature. We are nature, but we've become more and more disconnected from it. And again, a lot of what we're suffering from is due to that disconnect. So I determined I would sell the furniture business and I would go into a different type of business, one that would be aligned with my values. Finally, I got out of my way. And I started a company called Ned that helps people feel better and live better through the powers of nature. And we do that through all different types of natural remedies. So, there was also, my mom was battling cancer at the time, and I was finding a real passion for nature, or for natural remedies, rather. Always a passion for nature. It's been 7 years, and it's been absolutely beautiful. But I realized at the time, or I realized more recently, that even though it felt like it was in integrity, there was a key decision I made back when I decided to start this business. I said, again, let me do this, make some money, and then I'll do what I really want to do. Ned was originally going to be a much bigger business that was consulting and products and also coaching and actually getting people outdoors for retreats.
Yeah.
Which is my real passion. And I thought, that's not really scalable. There's not enough money in it. Who am I to do this? Fear crept in.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I said, you know what? Let me do what's a bit safer. I can start a natural products company. I can grow that. I'll have a tangible business that I can sell, make millions, and go do what I really want to do.
Yeah.
So the same thing happened.
And that question came back.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go, I'll do this so I can go do what I really want to do.
What I really want to do. Again, and I wish I had mentors at the time who could have kicked me in the ass and said, dude, you're doing it again.
Just like the 3 or 4, 5th, 6, yeah.
So, I recently was invited to go do a retreat for some friends up in Vail. Run a Misogi for them. They know that I'm into this thing called Misogi, and they asked me to come and teach them and actually lead them through a Misogi. I said, absolutely, I'd love to. And I did it for them, and it felt so aligned. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it again. It felt like for the first time since I was a child, I was aligned with my integrity.
Wow.
I was doing what I'm put on this earth to do. And then 2 weeks later, I was asked to come lead another retreat in Nebraska and get people outdoors and reconnect with nature. And I went there with really no instructions. It was a part of a bigger retreat. I was going to have a small part in it. And at one point, I'm sitting there in a circle. Half the people there are multi-billionaires, and I'm put on the spot. He says, the retreat facilitator, Finn, he says, and now Ret's going to give us a talk about reconnecting with nature and then lead us on a nature walk.
You were given zero heads up?
Yeah, 0 heads up. I didn't even know if this was going to happen. And in the intro was that long. It was 3 seconds. Yeah.
Ret's going to do this. All right, everybody pay attention to Ret.
Yeah, all eyes on me. And in the first second, I said, oh, shit. And then the next second, I said, well, wait a minute. This is what you love. This is what you do. This is who you are. This is okay. And then I took a deep breath, and I began. And I spoke for 20, I don't even know, actually, maybe 20, 15, 30 minutes. I lost track of time. I was in a flow state. And I just allowed myself to get into that state. And I spoke more eloquently then than I have in ages. And I said to myself, it shouldn't be hard. It really, really shouldn't be hard. This is it. This is easy. A week later, I went to a conference, the Conscious Entrepreneur Summit in Boulder. Amazing conference put on by my good friend Alex Raymond. And it was all about how hard it is to be an entrepreneur. You know, we've all got a screw loose. We're all masochists. We're all just suffer idolizers. And I thought to myself, yes, that's how it's been, but it doesn't have to be. If you're doing what God put you here for, what the universe wants of you, then it should roll off the tip of your tongue. And that was a big aha moment for me. I also realized, too, that a lot of us don't. And we spend our entire lives doing what we think others want us to do, doing what we think society wants us to do, or doing what we've talked ourselves into, like I did with Ned. And it makes us sick. Yeah. You mentioned liars. We get sick when we lie. When we're out of alignment with our integrity, we feel it in our bones, in our vibration, in our whole energy, and everybody else feels it too. And so I realized that if I kept staying out of my integrity, I could actually die from it. I could literally die from it.
Do you care to describe what integrity is for us? Like, what have you, maybe even, what was integrity before, and now maybe even what is integrity now? Because I bet it's a little bit different for you in how you viewed it, or maybe it's the same and you just suppressed it, or maybe it was different, or
you know, Martha Beck has a great book, The Way of Integrity. Martha Beck's an amazing writer and coach, and I highly recommend checking out that book. But integrity to me is honesty. It's being in alignment with your honesty. And that's simply put, and I think sums it up.